Hello everyone, hopefully you should have read this page on discussion, the key facts and the model text, and answered these questions. If you've not done that yet, then pause the video and go and answer them because we're going to go through the answers in a second. Now, this discussion text is talking about whether the person, the author, prefers reading the book of a story or watching the movie. Now, the whole purpose of a discussion text is to present two different viewpoints and give different ideas about a topic. So I've put on the discussion features page that is to present information and arguments for different viewpoints. So here, one viewpoint is that the book is better and one is that watching a film is better. Now, you can see it's clearly sorted into paragraphs. Recently, I was asked, which do you prefer? This part is introducing the topic. Then the first paragraph, he talks about why they enjoy reading. The second paragraph, on the other hand, talks about films. Then they present another problem. The problem arises when a good book is turned into a film. Then they talk about the issue in general, how reading the book can ruin it. And then finally, we have a conclusion where they discuss what their overall feeling on the situation is. Now, sometimes in discussions, people give a decision at the end about which argument or reason is better, but sometimes not. So for our key features of discussions, the first one is clear paragraphs arguing for and against. So the information should be sorted into paragraphs. You shouldn't really have paragraphs which are a bit with one viewpoint and a bit with another. The paragraph should be clearly sorted into sections. The second feature is logical conjunctions. These are the conjunctions you're using to start your paragraph. So on the other hand, however, and then they conclude with so. You can use things like therefore, however, in contrast to this. So you show that you're moving from one argument to another argument. The next feature is present tense. Normally discussions are in the present tense because they're discussing an issue right now. And normally the third person, this is actually an exception, this text, because this person is discussing their preferences. But normally discussions are about issues which are written in the third person. Okay, so those are your features. Oh, and a formal impersonal tone. So you're not talking to anyone, you're not chatting with your friend, you're talking about something in general for anyone to read. Okay, so let's look at the questions. What is the issue being discussed? The issue being discussed is whether reading a book or watching a film is better. What reason does the writer give for looking forward to bedtime? Now, if we find in the text, he talks about, I couldn't wait for it to be bedtime, not because I wanted to sleep, but because Enid Blyton, my favourite author, had left the brothers and sisters in a cliffhanger in a situation. So we should be saying for this, they didn't want to go to bed because they wanted to find out what would happen next to the characters in their book. They wanted to see what was going to happen next in the story they were reading. What does the writer say that reading a book allows her to do? We know it's a girl now. She says that it allows her to build up pictures in her head. If you see here, it says, has allowed me to build up 1,000 pictures in her head. So she creates an image of this world in her mind. Which phrase lets the reader know we're moving on to a different subject? So we have it here. On the other hand, it's turning from talking about books, to talking about films. So you want to have written there, on the other hand. The next question, why is the writer disappointed when seeing the film after reading the book? So we have to skim and scam here for the word disappointed. And I see, oh, there it is. I can't count the number of times I've been disappointed when the pictures in my head didn't match up with the pictures on the screen. So when what they'd imagined was not actually what it looked like in the movie. So I wrote for my answers, sometimes the pictures' ideas in their head don't match up with the film. Number 6, what do you think the phrase for cinematic purposes means? So we need to look at it in context to try and understand. The excuse for cinematic purposes is really no excuse at all. A good story should stay a good story as far as I'm concerned. So cinematic purposes means when a story might be changed in order for it to be made into a film. For example, one of the Harry Potter books is really long, and for the film they have to cut lots of bits of it out because it would just be too long to put the whole film in, to put the whole story in. So they have to cut some bits out for cinematic purposes. Or maybe there might be a character in the story that has black hair, but then in the film they suddenly have blonde hair because maybe they chose a different actor that they wanted, and they thought that actually having blonde would fit more with the character. So that's when something's changed for cinematic purposes. What is your opinion on this topic and why? So here, guys, any answer is right as long as you've clearly explained yourself and given a reason. So you have said, do you prefer books or do you prefer films? And you've given a reason. And finally, in your own words, what is the purpose of a discussion text? So obviously this is going to vary for each child, but you've said something along the lines of is to present two different viewpoints on the same topic and discuss maybe which is better, which is more accurate, something like the purpose here, to present information arguments for different viewpoints. What you need to do, guys, when you've marked this and added anything that you missed out, is you need to take a photo, remember to do it like this, upwards, and post it on Seesaw. On your Seesaw post, I want you to comment and say, what sort of other topics could we write a discussion piece about? For example, should we wear school uniform? Then you can talk about, you need to add in the comments one of your own topics. The last thing you need to do is you need to copy this onto your non-fiction poster. Okay, so the fifth box should be for discussion. Okay, thanks.